about the opening concepts of Street Fighter. I apologize if I can't see the chat all the time. I wish I had 5 screens, but I only have 2. Right. So there are 3 states of combat in Street Fighter. I said Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6. I guess all Street Fighters, probably all fighting games, even just all combat in general. There is offense, which is a position of advantage. There is defense, which is the position of your opponent having advantage on you. And by advantage, I mean direct advantage. So this is you blocking, getting hit, anything of that sort, to where your opponent has direct advantage, to where you are playing by the you're playing by their tune. There's no way that you can have a direct say on what happens next, but you can interact with them, hopefully. And then there's neutral, where both of you have complete say in what can happen, which is going to be what we're talking about today. Now, I want to specify a state of neutral that we call footsies, which is not the same thing. Neutral is a broader spectrum of things that can happen. Footsies is a very specific set of rules that we've put together to understand how this all comes together, how these little puzzle pieces build the full picture. So let's start with the very beginning. I want to start with a demonstration, which most people, and Royal Rose, you're in the chat now. How confident are you that if you see something, you can react to it?
I'm pretty confident.
Something slow, right? Reasonably so. Pretty confident in that? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then how confident are you in the range of Jiri's crouching medium kick?
Pretty confident in that range.
Sorry, say that again?
Pretty confident in that range that I can react pretty
I think your audio might be low for me. Let me raise you up. All right.
There you go.
Speak again?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that range where crouching medium kick is, yeah.
Okay.
I can react.
Great. So if I hold crouch block real quick, I'm just going to ask you to confirm. You don't have to say it. You don't have to press it. You just have to say it. Just confirm if crouch medium kick would hit me where I'm standing.
Okay. No, not right there, no.
Okay, press it just for the sake of demonstration. Okay. What about now?
Yes.
Okay, press it. Okay, try now. Oh, my bad. Sensitive buttons. Try now. What about now?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Okay. What about now?
No.
Okay, press it. Okay, so you're pretty sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so hold down back, do not move forward. Your task is extremely simple, okay? I just want you to press crouch and medium kick when I'm in range of crouch and medium kick. And I'll start from full screen. So you have plenty of time, okay? When I'm in range, when you are sure without a shadow of a doubt. Here's the other side of that coin. If you do not press your crouch and medium kick, I will press my standing heavy punch and you'll be in the Jinrai loop.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, great. Only when you are absolutely sure.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Let's try again.
Gotcha. Ooh, okay.
Let's try again. Okay. Were you sure when you pressed that?
Yeah, I thought you were going to be ranging there for it.
Okay. So this is pretty much how neutral is played, how footsies is played more specifically. So what's happening is that the human brain is very good at predicting, right? Which in most situations, that is a positive, but it can be used against you because we are not computers. We can't react by literal frames. We need time for our brains to process what's happening. So what our brain does, which is like motion prediction or trajectory prediction, based on where I am right now and the trajectory I'm on, exactly, your brain knew that if you're going to intercept me, you had to press it right then. Otherwise, you'd be too late, right? Mm-hmm. So this is something that you guys should keep in mind throughout the rest of this this session. It's going to be a very important part of this. So interceptive timing. Your brain knows exactly when I should be in the range for that button to hit based on how long it takes to start. So for example, if I said use standing heavy kick instead, right? Okay. To hit me. You can go neutral. Just use standing heavy kick and intercept me with it. Same thing would happen. Heavy kick.
Oh, heavy kick, gotcha.
Yes. So if you were to intercept me before I reached you, how early would you have to press it? That's the question.
Exactly.
Right,
Mhm.
but because you know how slow the button is, how long it takes, so you press it much earlier, so it reaches me exactly with how far it goes. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. So does everyone in the chat understand that? Just give me like ones in the chat if you understand so far, or if you have any questions. That's a lot of ones.
What are you waiting
I'm glad. Awesome. One and a smiley face. Shout outs. Okay, great. So now let's talk about the next thing that this comes with. So this is kind of how I explain it to people. And if you guys have any questions throughout this process, let me know, because I tried to simplify it as much as I could, but it can still be a weird thing to understand. So let's isolate a tool. So I will also select Jury. I've never played Jury a day in my life, and I hope never to. But
Okay, for the sake of demonstration. But
for the sake of demonstration, yeah, I'll have to shower after this. This is not good for business. The thing about threat zones is that it will differ depending on what you're trying to beat or what you're concerned with. So, crouch medium kick is going to be the button we're talking about. This assume that this is footsies. You have no other button. It's only this one. Okay. So hold crouch block real quick. So you've already established that you know exactly when your crouch medium kick will hit, right? And then we've established that you don't know when I will be in that spot. That is the problem. So if I'm standing right here in the range where your crouch medium kick would hit, right? So you're not Jury, I'm Jury. You don't have attacks. You're just you're a dummy. You're punching back. At this range, this will be considered the red zone, right? Zone 1 red. That basically means that you have no chance of reacting. You can't defend yourself. You can't evade. You can't even attack me on reaction. So let me demonstrate. So hold neutral, and I will turn on your inputs here. I want you to block this on reaction. This is within reason, right? Within reason of how fast normals can be. I want you to block this on reaction. It's not humanly possible. We'll keep trying.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm about to say.
And just so you don't accidentally block, if you block on accident, you owe me $1.
Okay.
I need you to react.
I got you.
Don't flinch, react. Right? You can't. Okay? So that's how we get money. Yeah, that's how we get monetized. We just charge them $1 every time they mess up. Yeah, I like that. That's a good business model right there. I like that. I like that way of thinking, Kuroshi. All right. So then the second threat zone is the yellow zone. So the yellow zone is the zone of potential threat. You're able to react, yes, but you can only react with a defensive option. You cannot react with an offensive option. And the reason for that is that defensive options, typically, you have some options that are one frame. The moment you do it, you're able. It's in effect. So blocking, parry, right? You can do that, and the moment you press the button, it's in effect. Whereas offensive options or evasive options typically take time to either execute or to start. There's startup on it. So, for example, jumping away or trying to backdash, where you have to tap back twice. Too much time to tap back twice. Even if you were inhuman, it'll still be a 3-frame input versus a 1. So you're just less likely to do it. So it's not going to happen. So let's try and demonstrate, right? So because I'm right outside the range of the button actually hitting, this will be considered the yellow zone. So I would have to approach and then press the button. So in demonstration here, I'm going to walk forward and do crouch medium kick, and I want you to block the moment you see me walking forward, okay?
Gotcha.
We'll try again. Try again. Okay, it's possible. We'll try again. Again. There you go. So it's possible, right? You saw me move. You knew there's an immediate potential threat, so you're able to block. It's potential. You don't actually know what's going to happen, but you are able to go into a defensive state, just in case, right? But if you try to fight back, say you try to fight back with like a crouch light kick or a crouch light punch, even, right? Or like a medium kick that might reach me, yeah, go ahead and attempt it on reaction.
Okay.
That's best case scenario, by the way.
Most
Most of the time, you just get hit, right? Even if I go from further away, like this is still be technically the yellow zone because it's a spectrum, right?
Yeah, I can't even. Yeah.
It might be lag. I don't know, but try again. There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But you're able to block. You can block.
Yeah.
Right. So All right, so we're using Jury. Her walk speed's pretty slow, so there's leniency in the zone. Her zones are much smaller than some other characters, and I'll explain that in a second. Now, the green zone. This is a zone of typically low threat. Typically, under conventional situations, conventional means this is as close to zero threat as far as not being able to react. There is no way I should be able to do something from this spot and you not be able to block it on reaction. Right? Like if I start drive rushing from here, you have plenty of time to see it and be like, nah, I don't want that. Right? You may not. I mean, you have the opportunity to challenge it. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
But you could. But you definitely, 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, have a say in this situation. You have a say for sure. You can confirm what you're looking at and then react. You could. Right? That's what the green zone is. So it's a low threat area. So, as a Jury player, we have to talk about what you typically do in different zones, right? So whenever you're in the zone right here, you feel like pressing crouch and medium kick. When you're in the zone right here, you feel like pressing standing heavy kick if you're going to try and attack me, right? When we're here, you feel like doing what? Like doing crouch light punch, maybe crouch medium punch, maybe crouch medium kick, depending on what kind of brain cells are activating, right? So this is a very important part about Footsies, what I'm about to say, guys. Like, I need you guys to really hear this part. What your opponent does is, from neutral, what your opponent does, you have full say in what is triggered, what options they're able to do or likely to do. So where you are standing will determine what is likely to come. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people don't realize that they are triggering their opponent's actions without knowing that it's happening. They're doing it, and then they'll think that that's random. I see it all the time. Like, why did you press that? It's like, you stood in the perfect place for it. Why did they jump? Because you rapidly backdashed. So we'll talk about that in a second as well. Like rapidly changing your state, your zone, rapidly changing your zone and what that does to people. So if I do this, right? If I stand here, what are you thinking?
You're probably either gonna throw me or shimmy.
Right? Throw.
Yeah.
That is the threat. The shimmy is only on the table because of the throw. There is no shimmy without throw. So your brain is thinking throw, right? But I stood here, right? So extrapolate that to the rest of your tools. The same way that this is the red zone for a throw, this is the red zone for a crouch and medium kick. So when it comes to playing neutral and walking in and out of a zone, it's essentially shimmying, but with strikes. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Does that part make sense? Everyone in chat? I'll elaborate a little bit more on that one, but does that make sense so far? Dope. All right. So here, I'm gonna throw you, right? And I want you to react to my throw on the same way that we talked about the crouch medium kick, right? React to my throw from right here. Don't flinch, react. Okay? Not able to, right? Red zone. Now I'm going to walk up from here and throw you. You're able to react, right? Okay. Now let's extrapolate that. Same concept, except now we're going to use crouch and medium kick like we did before. I want you to react to my crouch and medium kick. Right? I want you to react to my crouch medium kick with block from here.
Okay.
Right? Awesome. Now, I want you, now that we've seen that you can defend, right? I want you to use parry, same way that you use the throw, a committal defensive option. There you go. See? Because you're just able to react to it, right? Now, the problem with that is that if you use the same concept of shimmy, and you know when your opponent is going to do something, then you can just stop. Right? So again, parry.
Okay.
Parry whenever you see me about to do it.
Okay. Gotcha.
There you go. Like that, right?
Ah, I see.
Okay. Now, but parry is just an option. We can take this way further. So the point I'm making is that I'm controlling what you are doing because of where I'm standing. So this is me from the offensive side of the coin. Now let's go back to the defensive side of the coin, and let's go back to where we started from the very beginning. Right? From the very beginning, where I walk in and you press because you want to stop me from walking forward.
Okay.
Right? And if you don't press, what happens? I hit you.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. So I don't
Yeah, I
actually even
forgot
have to
predict
step
it.
into the range. I just have to convince you that I will be in the range.
Mhm.
And you have to press. There you go. You have to press. If you don't press, I press. Not good for business, right?
Mhm.
So you gotta press. There you go. You're starting to see. There. You can't wait. I know you want to wait. I'm sorry, dude. You can't. You can't.
Alright.
You wait, you die.
Hey, look.
There you go. Yeah, you're gonna have to do it. I know it sucks. Welcome to
Yeah. Wow.
Footsies.
Yeah,
I
because
just
like you
stopped.
can't react. You have to predict.
You have to
Yeah.
predict. That was the very first thing we covered. You have to predict,
Mhm.
right? Okay, but you're in the corner, right? So you have nowhere to go.
Mhm.
Okay, but this is how the zones work. So let's talk about exactly what is happening and how to utilize this. You guys have probably heard this before, but with everything I've just said, let's now add full context to it. The triangle of footsies. So in footsies, it's been simplified this way. There are some gradients here and there. There's some hybrids. But put simply, there's poking, there's advancing, and then there's whiff punishing / countering a poke. We'll put that in parentheses. Countering a poke, which could be whiff punishing, counter poking. There are other things there, but for now we'll just stick to whiff punishing, okay? But just know that there's more to that. So that can only happen if there's space behind you, which is why the space behind you is such an important resource. So now that we're in this situation, compared to where you're in the corner, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna walk from full screen. When you perceive that I'm an imminent threat, which is the yellow zone, right? You're gonna see me walking into the yellow zone, which means that you didn't know I'm gonna go into the red zone pretty soon. All I want you to do is this, just this.
And just walk
Sure.
back like that.
Yeah, just that,
Okay.
just that. No. Too early.
Oh.
Relax.
I got you.
Let me get
Yeah.
into the range where I'm a threat, where I'm about to be a threat. About to be a threat.
Ah,
So
I
yellow
see what
zone.
you mean. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try
so-
again.
Okay.
There you go.
Mhm.
There you go. You can take it. No, smaller step. Smaller step. You're over. You're over. So a lot of people waste movement. I just want to demonstrate with this how little you have to move.
Okay.
That was my fault. I didn't go in all the way.
You're good. Ooh, that's scary. Okay.
There you go. See?
There we go. Okay.
So you don't have to move very much. And to demonstrate this even further, right? Here, I'll do it to you instead. You walk in and hit me with the tip of your crouching medium kick. Come closer real quick, just so I can buy
Okay.
myself. I'm gonna buy myself this much space.
Okay.
Maybe a little less. All right, and I want you to walk from full screen and then hit me with your crouching medium kick from the tip.
Got you. Okay. Oh. Okay.
See?
Oh.
So once I see that you're in the yellow zone, it doesn't take much for me to just evade. Now, the same way that that you were teching the throw, right?
Mhm.
It's the same way that you could walk out of a throw, right? So let's use the same logic, but I'll use throw. So I'll walk from here. I just want you to just inch back when you see me walking at you. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
My bad.
Oh, you're good.
We'll go a little further.
Oh God.
It's a little laggy. I'm sorry. Here,
You're
give me a
good,
little bit more wiggle room.
You're good.
There you go.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's the same logic, right? But the window you have is going to differ on the range of the move, the speed of the move. Your back walk speed in itself is a pretty big deal, right? And if you can evade or not. So let's select a more standard character because Jury is a character with a lot of range and very slow walk speed. So demonstrating with her may not always be ideal. And actually, CNQ, are you available for this one?
Yep.
All right, I'll hop in with you. So looking at the full picture, this is with that triangle, right? Poking beats advancing. So if my opponent is advancing at me, you just poke me with the crouch medium kick right when I'm about to get into range for it. Just poke me, and then it beats that. Very simple. So, but the thing about poking is that it works when your opponent is going from yellow to the red zone. So as they're entering the red zone from the yellow zone, that's when poking is good. The problem with that, as you guys saw before, is that you don't know if I'm going to stop in the yellow zone or if I'm going to enter the red zone. That's the problem. So if I stop in the yellow zone and you commit, that could be GG's. Now, there's a secondary part of this, but that comes out, it goes full circle, which is with punishing beats poking. But for whiff punishing to happen, you need space behind you, or rather, enough space between you and your opponent. Usually, for that to happen is you have to utilize the space behind you, but you can create that space in one of two ways. One, you could go from the red zone into the yellow zone, or you can go from the green zone into the yellow zone. Two different things are happening. By going from the red zone into the yellow zone, you exit faster than your opponent can recognize it. So for example, I'm currently in the yellow zone. If I enter the red zone, it gives CNQ just enough time to recognize what has happened, but by the time he's able to realize what's happened, it's too late. Does that make sense? This is one of the riskiest ways to get a whiff punish because you could accidentally get tagged, right? But in the reverse, going from the green zone, which is complete safety, and into the threatening zone, he was never able to hit me. Right? And I can just observe. If I see a flinch, whiff punish. Same thing with this version. Right? If I see a flinch, whiff punish. Now, the reason why I'm using sweep, I know a lot of people think that at a high level players are fully reacting with a whiff punish. There was a time when I used to think there is no way I'll ever be able to whiff punish until I realized something. You guys remember when I said what your opponent presses is highly dependent on where you're standing, because that's what determines what they're able to press or what they're likely to press. I know that if I see a Ken button that is a crouching normal of any kind from this range, one, it's likely to have a recovery of a medium or something higher than that, and two, it is likely to be a crouching medium kick because that's how far away I am, right? So if he uses crouching medium punch, for example, the result will be pretty close to the same, right? And I can kind of guesstimate when it's going to come. Like I poke with that from the same range as a crouching medium kick, but that's faster. And this is the problem with the prediction, but it's not necessarily bad. So committing to stuff like sweep, my bad. To stuff like sweep, it's not necessarily my favorite thing unless I have legitimate information. But let's say I use something safer. Go again.
With a crouch medium punch?
Crouch medium kick.
Okay.
Right? I can use that. Crouch medium punch this time. Right? That is much harder for me to lose. Actually, that might just be a better option. So let's just say I'm using heavy kick for both options. It's low risk either way. Right? I could be wrong. I could be right. I could even be a little bit committal. Right? Use crouch medium kick this time. Like let's just autopilot this, right? I'm not even watching him. I'm just gonna walk in, out, press heavy kick. Same thing. I'm gonna walk out from out into in, pause, press heavy kick. Same thing. So buttons like these, if you have privileged buttons that are safe and give you full punishes, definitely worth considering being one of your main whiff punish buttons. CNQ actually pointed this out to me that I don't use this as Ken. Which is a really valid point. I just kind of rely on this and that, which puts me in danger more than I need to put myself in. Right. So that's worth considering. If you get the same combo route or a similar combo route, more damage, whatever it is, safer buttons that reach your opponent are what you want. But can you guys see how does affecting the zones, rapidly changing from one zone to another affects your opponent? If I change from green to yellow, he assumes that red is next. If I go from yellow to red, he assumes that I'm still in red. Like that. So I just got to touch the tip of red like this, and he should be convinced, right? Should be convinced. You guys remember I mentioned earlier, people waste movement. I want you guys to see what kind of movement makes your opponent act, okay? A lot of people move like this because they saw Daigo do it in 2009, and they don't know why they're doing it. Just observe this for a second. CNQ, press crouch medium kick when you are convinced that that I'm gonna be in range for crouch medium kick. Okay, like whenever it's
okay.
within reason. There we go. Okay, so you guys see how I can move back and forth all day in this spot, one step forward, one step back. But this is what convinced them. The fact that I might actually walk in and press mine, right? Let me demonstrate real quick. So I'll keep doing this. So let's play a fencing game. If you block mine, you lose the game. There you go. So you guys see that, right? It's the long step forward or the long step back that makes your opponent behave and change their action drastically. These small steps, if you waste movement all the time, then your opponent never knows what's real and what's not, what they should be concerned with. But if you look at a lot of high-level players, they move like this, or if they're moving back and forth, it's usually very small movements. They're generally occupying the same spot and going nowhere. So whenever they make a small step forward like that, this is a bigger threat than you think. I didn't mean to dash. This wasn't nothing at high-level play. That's a pretty big deal that they did this. Looks like nothing, right? And then you press the button, and you're like, man, why did I press that? They made you press it. You just don't realize that they did. Right? Because you know that if they step into this range, they're a threat. Deep down somewhere, there's a lizard brain factor that just got activated, the neuron, everything fired up, and you don't even know that it did, right? Because of this. The same reason why if I'm standing here and I randomly backdash, most people feel the need to jump. A lot of people do. I just do this and most people jump because it's the cleanest place to jump. It rapidly changed, right? But you don't know that that's why you're doing it. These are things you can use to control your opponent. Neuron activation, exactly. You can use these movements to control your opponent, but wasting movement by making big movements like this, because Daigo did it, in 1992, it's not really doing much unless you have a reason for why you are moving. Otherwise, you really should just be doing this, right? Movement has purpose. You do this to see if they move back. You do this to be safer, right? You're changing zone. So yellow zone, more of the tip. Like I said, they're gradients, right? I think there's like an orange zone, but you know what I mean. So this is the red zone. Well, not red zone, but like the tip of the yellow zone. If I'm here, TNQ is on high alert, right? If I'm here, he's chilling. He doesn't feel threatened. I can feel his butt cheeks clench when I do this, right? Like this. No opponent on the planet, if Ken does this to your face, it's like, yeah, this is all cool now, right? Chilling, not chilling, right? And I know that. So when I'm moving back and forth here, I know when I move forward, I threatened just by doing that. And he knows that. Even if it's not consciously, he knows that. So because I'm standing here, who wants to bet what button he's gonna press after I rapidly change states to the spot? Anyone want to bet in chat? Right? See, it's obvious when you think about it. It's extremely obvious when you think about it. It's a no-brainer. Now, this will vary from character to character, right? If this was a Marissa player, I bet everything. I bet everything my bank account standing medium punch is coming. I bet it all. Like it's gonna be standing medium punch. I just wait for it, right? And then just hit it after. But that's how it works, right? So that's the second part. With punishing beats poking. But he has to poke to stop me from advancing. So it's kind of a no deal. And then advancing beats with punishing. So let's say that I do one of the two things I mentioned before. I stand in the yellow zone, I threaten yellow to red, and then I wait, right? And then CNQ calls my bluff and inches forward. Inch forward and then block again. Yeah, all of a sudden he's just called me out. And I'm like, I wasn't planning for this, right? So now I have a choice to make. Do I move away or do I poke at him, right? This is a tough decision to make. This is what high-level footsies looks like. Most high-level players, if they were in my position, if they had the space behind them, would do this. But it also depends on your personal nature as a player. If you're passive, you're likely to just walk back anyway. So the reason why it's dangerous, let me demonstrate again, CNQ. So instead of you walking in, he can put the reverse Uno card, right? He can be like, cool, you move forward. I'll also inch forward after a moment. So start from the corner. So I'll do yellow zone, start from the corner. Start from the corner.
Okay.
All right. So I'll start from the yellow zone and I'll threaten red and go back into the yellow. You inch forward and then inch back. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can do the reverse Uno card on me. So me pressing is dangerous because now he knows that if I'm gonna press, I have to press right then. Right? So this is how it works. There are these pocket situations where you know if they're gonna press, they have to press right now. And then every time these situations happen, high-level players are trying to gather when people press and what they press. That's what they're trying to figure out. That way they can safely, quote unquote, out footsie you without taking too much risk. Does that make sense to everyone? So that's what advancing does. By advancing, he forces me to then decide if I'm gonna poke or if I'm gonna try and go back to a whiff punishing state, which means I have to keep giving him space perpetually. Because for me to whiff punish his crouch medium kick, I have to not be in range of it, which means I have to keep backing up, right? If he never presses it, I can never whiff punish it. So eventually I have to make a choice. Do I poke or do I advance? Otherwise he'll close the distance and I'll have to block it. At which point we've just gone from neutral to offense. And we're no longer playing footsies. All right, awesome. So let us recap. Our brains are good at predicting trajectory of anything, motion, the motion of something throughout a span of time. Our brain can tell where it's going to land. You can toss an apple into the middle of the air, close your eyes when it reaches its peak, and catch it just fine. You don't even have to see it anymore. You just close your eyes and catch it. Our brains can do that, which means a lot of the things that you think you're reacting to, sometimes you're not. Your brain predicted it. For example, this is not footsies related per se, but people have said in the past, I reacted to your fireball, right? But that's not possible. It just isn't. Like with a jump, you reacted with a jump. That's not possible because of how long the jump takes to make contact. But your brain will convince you because you saw a tell. There was a trigger that said a fireball is coming. And as you decided to do the jump, you also saw the fireball. And then your brain said, oh yeah, that was a reaction. So you can't do that. It's not a thing. But there are tells, there are requirements, prerequisites that you can pay attention to that will tell you what's about to come. For example, if your opponent's about to dash, right? Like dash at me CNQ. If you guys just watch him, you can see like a little stagger before he dashes. Dash. So at a high level players will train themselves to see those little cues and then check it, right? So something that I do all the time when I'm playing a Shoto character is I emulate a dash movement like this, and I just throw a fireball. Like that. No, I suck. Or I do it, and then I do Dragon Lash. Right? Like something like that. It's stupid, but it starts to train them to not look for this because they can't trust this tell anymore, if that makes sense. You don't know which one's real. Especially with Drive Rush on the table. See? So when you mess with the trigger, it slows down the reaction. Marissa is uniquely good at this because all of her special moves are reactable, especially if there's no tell. If you use a tell to your favor, you actually like create a tell and then you either do the thing or don't do the thing. It makes it much harder because they can't trust what they're looking at anymore. So it's the same thing in neutral. These small movements are small tells, right? So when I do a real one, you trust it because you know that I've been doing freaking nothing. I've been going nowhere. Once I start going somewhere, you believe it's true. Right? There you go. So CNQ is being careful because he doesn't know what he's looking at. Every time he sees me in the yellow zone, he's like, nah, I'm gonna just step away from that. I don't want to mess with that. Which the problem is, if I just see that, I can just keep advancing. If your opponent's giving you space, you don't have to press. Just keep taking the space until they, until they stabilize, or you can make a commitment at some point. And that's the triangle. That's how it works. So understand your opponent, one, cannot react to your movement. They cannot react to your button like by itself, right? And then keep in mind that when you rapidly change zones, when you change from yellow to red zone rapidly, your opponent has to make a decision. They can either go passive or active. They have to choose one. If they go passive, that's when you see people do stuff like this, right? Once I go into the red zone, if he hasn't pressed by now, I'm gonna throw him. Like, I'm either gonna get hit around this spot or he's getting thrown. He might tech, but you guys get the point, right? He's gone into a passive state. If I didn't get hit already, I mean, he's getting thrown more than likely, right? He's already made his decision. If I go from a zone like this to a zone like this, he's more likely going to try and close the distance rapidly, right? Or the classic, if they're a fireball character, they throw the fireball. This happens all the time, where you give them space and then they're like, "Oh, cool, fireball time," and they just jump at them. Very common.
I see. After a throw tech, people autopilot fireball.
Yes. And I'm one of them. I'm one of them for sure. Like, what he just mentioned, right? I'm one of them. 100% I do that. We've just gone from straight up like close quarters combat into prime zone for a fireball, right? But again, this is the situation I was talking about. So I've done this to other Shoto characters as well. I will tech the throw, and then I'll just look for the fireball after. Yeah, see, it
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
come,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you guys see, I buffered the super. If he was gonna fireball, that was the moment to do it, and that's what I meant before. There are these changes, these rapid changes in the zone. When the zone changes rapidly, that is the beat when the decision has to be made. They either do nothing or they do something. You saw Bonchan throw a fireball after throw tech the other day. Oh, it's not always impulse. Sometimes it's a decision. Like I throw it, but I'm aware that it's a thing that can be beaten. And if they jump after the throw, then I'm okay with that because I have something for that. It's just my default. The same as like I use parry, so my opponent starts throwing so I can jump out. But I'm fully aware that there's a giant weakness to parry. All right, cool. You've blown my mind with the when in the yellow zone. CNQ says, "Nah, I don't want any of that because yeah, he doesn't know what's going on." Yeah, exactly. Forcing interaction is one of the worst things you can do. At higher level play, I want you guys to take this lesson, right? Go watch any two high level players. Again, these are under normal conditions, right? Drive rush in itself is kind of like a long range poke. That's how I would think about it, just so you guys understand. Which is why I said like whiff punishing is not the only way to handle this. You can be out of the range of it. You can be you can counter poke it, which is basically beating the poke before it's active. But these are all very small interactions that paint a much bigger picture. It's a mosaic. You don't really know what the picture is until you start getting enough pieces to where you can actually zoom out. So at a high level, I love to walk in and poke with this. I want to see what you do about it. I want to see, first off, the active frames are insane, right? So I'm safe for the most part. And if you whiff punish me, I know you're passive. At which point, I get to walk in and press jab, right? And okay, CNQ would enjoy pressing heavy kick, but this is we have different takes on the same situation, which is kind of the whole point of this. The triangle, preemptive, reactive, aggressive. Yes, exactly. So I'm gonna post the notes for this in the chat. Just remember that you can trigger your opponent's responses and also try to keep track of when they're triggering responses from you. And every time you get whiff punished, something triggered you pressing that button, right? What was it?
Thanks for watching. If this video helped you level up even a little, there's a whole lot more waiting for you at EX Dojo. Our community Discord is built to help Street Fighter 6 players grow, with high-level matchmaking, deep tech resources, and a unique ranking system inspired by martial arts. And if you want to go even further, check out the EX Dojo Patreon. You'll get access to private group sessions, guaranteed access to advanced players you can reach out to, coaching discounts, exclusive improvement material, and more. Train smart, fight hard, exceed expectations. Welcome to the dojo.